It is one scenario to be unable to attend school for lack of academic resources or financial resources. It is quite another matter to have academic standing and financial resources, yet have the door locked and bolted because of one's ethnicity. Blacks wanted life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, whatever that meant to each person individually. But in a nutshell, we wanted freedom. Some blacks were willing to fight for that freedom, and Fred Lee Shuttlesworth was one of them. He and Martin Luther King Jr. had together founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a national civil rights group organized after the Montgomery bus boycott. Now, several years later, he felt it was time to contact Dr. King in Atlanta to help him. To test the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education ruling to integrate the public schools, Shuttlesworth had driven to Birmingham's Phillips High School with his 2 daughters in the car. He planned to enroll them in the all-white school, but the white mobs were waiting for him. When he stepped out of his car, white men jumped him. On the evening news, I saw the men hitting and beating and kicking Reverend Shuttlesworth. At the time, I remember thinking, surely he knew a white mob was waiting for him at the entrance of Phillips High School that day, but he still drove to the school and got out of his car. Was he afraid of what might happen? Certainly he knew the mob might kill him and his daughters. How in the world did he prepare his mind and his heart for that confrontation? What did he tell his daughters might happen? How did he prepare them to possibly meet their deaths? During those violent years, the Klan bombed Shuttlesworth's home twice and his church once. Very early one Christmas morning, as he and his wife lay in bed asleep, an explosion awakened him. He opened his eyes and all he could see was the sky above him. The bomb had blown away the roof of his house and the wall of his bedroom. He figured this close escape from death was God's way of telling him, Shuttlesworth, I'm with you for the duration of this. Dr. King accepted Shuttlesworth's invitation to come to Birmingham, a hotbed of racial violence, the city Dr. King called the most segregated city in America. Together, they organized and planned for peaceful protest. Dr. King made it clear that any protester confronted with violence by police or the Klan was to respond with nonviolence. When Bull Connor, Birmingham's Commissioner of Public Safety, heard about the upcoming protest, he obtained a court order forbidding the marches. That meant that if black people marched down the streets of Birmingham, they would be arrested. On Good Friday, April 12, 1963, Dr. King himself was arrested and locked up in a Birmingham jail. Things in Birmingham certainly heated up when Dr. King arrived. I was 15 years old and right in the center of it all. On the day after George Wallace made his public stand in the University of Alabama's doorway, and President Kennedy spoke on television to the nation about civil rights, a member of the Klan shot and killed civil rights leader Medgar Evers, the field secretary for the NAACP. Evers had attracted national attention back in the early 1960s when he led a store boycott in Jackson, Mississippi, and when he helped Black student James Meredith enter the all-white University of Mississippi in 1962. As Evers pulled into the driveway of his home in Jackson, Mississippi, white supremacist and Klan member Byron D. LeBeckwith was hiding, waiting for Evers to step out of his car. Then, with Evers' wife and young children watching, De La Beckwith shot him in the back. Evers died that night in his driveway. When I heard about the assassination that evening on the television news, I worried about my own father driving home from work. Will someone shoot Daddy in the back and leave him to die in the driveway, I wondered? But I didn't talk to anyone about my fears. I kept them bottled inside, hidden away from my parents and my friends. Even at that young age, I knew that I couldn't trust the legal system to bring about justice. Byron De La Beckwith was arrested, tried, and acquitted by an all-white jury. It was the verdict that we had expected. He went free for the next 31 years. That incident set off something inside of me. It seemed even more horrific than the other racially motivated murders that had happened throughout the South. I was starting to grasp how little value Black people had in my country, and I knew it wasn't right.